This meeting is called to order. Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Blakely Cabano.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to come this day. Lord, we come to you and we submit ourselves to your will. Lord, we ask that you watch over our firefighters, our police officers, our staff on the city right now. Lord, we also ask that you watch over our soldiers, whether they're here, home, or they're abroad. Just watch over and protect them. Lord, we thank you for the freedoms that you've given us here in this country, in this state, in this city. Lord, we ask that you watch over and guide us today and tomorrow. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our announcements and events will be brought to us by Assistant City Manager Chuck Barnett.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen. Haltom City Curbside Recycling Service is going citywide. Beginning in October, every Haltom City resident will receive a bin to be used to recycle paper, plastics, metals, and glass. You need to watch for the details in the September water bills and in the special mailed notices that will be coming out. You can also check the city's website at www.haltomcitytx.com or watch Channel 27, the city's municipal access channel, on Charter Cable for further information. The Gary Hires Memorial Softball Tournament will take place Saturday, September 15th at North Park. The annual event benefits a police department program that provides gifts and food to needy residents during Christmas time. Those who attend the tournament are asked to bring a new unwrapped toy or a non-perishable food item as a donation. Tournament play begins at 9 a.m. Food concessions, bounce house, music, and other activities are scheduled to begin at 11 a.m. For information, contact Officer Vicki Harden at 817-707-7443. This tournament is sponsored by the Haltom City Police Officers Association and serves as a kickoff for Crime Prevention Month. As another note on that, the Haltom City Police Department is observing October as National Crime Prevention Month. Residents are encouraged to get with their neighbors and organize gatherings to talk about crime prevention in their neighborhoods and to support and organize neighborhood crime watch groups. For further information, please contact Sergeant Gene Rowell with the Haltom City Police Department at 817-759-2124 or 817-222-7100. The Trinity Trash Bash is an environmental awareness program involving 16 cities. This Saturday, volunteers will gather to remove trash and debris from our city's streams and waterways. Volunteers are asked to register for the mayor's team. That's yours, Mayor.
Yes, it is.
Beginning at 9 a.m. at the Birdville Environmental Study Center, which is across from Haltom High School. A scavenger hunt and a search for buried treasure will be a part of the fun. Participants will also receive giveaways and receive a free picnic lunch. A cash prize will be presented to the largest group of volunteers and the group picking up the most trash. Again, for information, call 817-222-7767. Remember to recycle paper to benefit the furniture for the children's area in the new Haltom City Public Library. Bins have been placed for collection, are located at the library, Fire Station 3, and the Senior Citizen Center. The bins have been placed there for about a month, and so far public response has been very, very good. Acceptable items include newspapers, magazines, shopping catalogs, office and school paper, mail, and phone books. Tomorrow is the anniversary of 9/11. To honor and remember those who were killed during the 2001 terrorist attacks, the Haltom City Beautification Board will place a wreath in the library garden located in front of the Haltom Road Park. The garden was dedicated a few months after the 9/11 attack. The board planned the original garden, and a flagpole was donated by Woodmen of the World. In recent years, the site has been cared for by Adopt a Spot volunteer and board member Cheryl Dixon. Any questions?
Can you tell me that trash bash, it starts at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning and it goes to when? Did they?
I don't
Put that
have an
information
end
in.
time. I guess when you pick up all the trash, you
After
can
we
go
get all
home.
the trash picked up?
After you
on the
finish
Trinity
picking up
River?
all the trash, you can go home, Mayor.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, I'm going to try something a little different out of the box tonight. In honor of Labor Day, I'm going to read a poem, and hope you enjoy it. This is also a stab toward literacy reminders. That I want to support that. This is a poem called "To Be of Use" by Marge Piercy. The people I love the best jump into work head first without dallying in the shallows and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become native of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing, well done, has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. Hope you enjoyed that. That's one of my favorite poems, and did that in honor of Labor Day in Haltom City. The consent agenda is considered to be self-explanatory and will be enacted by the council with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Approval of the consent agenda authorizes the city manager to implement each item in accordance with the staff or board recommendations. We're going to have a brief explanation of item 4 before we address the consent agenda, the interlocal agreement, and that will be brought to us by our city engineer, Bennett Howell. Bennett?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Item 4 is the interlocal agreement between Haltom City and the City of Fort Worth for the use of the Environmental Collection Center. This center is set aside. It's a free use for Haltom City residences to get rid of such materials as fertilizers, pesticides, paint, and petroleum byproducts. The service is free to the residences, and Fort Worth charges Haltom City $47 per resident per visit. It is a cheaper system than having Haltom City to have to deal with disposing of the materials.
Okay, thank you. And this is on Bridge Street?
Bridge Street, off of I-30 near 820.
Okay.
It's on the south side.
Well, the reason we wanted you to make this announcement, we just wanted people to know, bring this special attention to the citizens, that if you've got things like this, paint or oil products or things of that nature that you need to throw out, there is a place to do it, and it's free to the citizens. The city pays for it, but I'm told it's a bargain.
Yep.
At that. So want to make sure our citizens utilize that and don't just be dumping it out in the backyard or in the drains. Just
Right.
take it to a place where it can be safely taken care of. That it?
That's it.
All right. Thank you. Well, with that, we have the consent agenda before us. Entertain a motion to dispose. Mr. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as read.
Ms. Branson.
It's for a second, Mayor.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Please register your vote. That is unanimous. Next on the agenda is item 7, flooding and erosion issues. This will be an update and discussion on the recent flooding and erosion issues. And Mr. Muir, are you prepared to tell us a little something?
It rained today. I'll do this like I have previously. I'll deal with Skyline first and then the Big Fossil Creek issues. With Skyline, the staff and I are sensing New Orleans' trouble with FEMA. It's kind of funny, but in a lot of ways it's not. It is extremely frustrating. Currently, we are still at an impasse as far as picking up demolition debris. So it is looking even more so like a war zone down there because of the demolition that they've been doing, and they've been putting it out there. We've still been told, do not pick it up. We thought we had arrangements to be able to pick it up. We do not. FEMA, depending on which arm you're talking to, the rules kind of keep changing, or the instructions keep changing. So it's frustrating. Currently, what we're operating under is that we will develop a hold harmless agreement with the Mobile Home Park Association between the city and us. And then once we have that executed, and the city attorney's office has drafted that, and I got that today, then we'll present that to FEMA. And FEMA will, I think they're going to want one from us as far as funding it, and it'll be up to the city to take care of disposing of that. Now, we just can't go down there and get it, though. We're going to have to, I don't have the resources for the staff to go down there and do that because there's so much of it. And we just can't go out and hire somebody to do it. We will have to competitively bid it, and that will take time. It will take.
Is this a FEMA rule that it has to be competitively bid?
This is FEMA. We thought our existing solid waste disposal contract would take care of that. It does not. With the federal guidelines, and since it's dealing with federal funds, unfortunately, the guy with the money makes the rules, and the feds have a plethora of rules, and that's fine. I thought they would have. I thought because of the issues that they've had in the past, that they would have had certified contractors that would already be taking care of stuff like this, but they don't. So we're going to have to. The city's going to have to bid this thing out and follow the federal rules. And you heard me talking back there in pre-council about federal rules regarding CDBG and HUD and stuff like that. And while federal rules are federal rules, each federal agency has their own set of rules. So each agency doesn't share the same rules. So this will be an exercise that we'll have to go through to get that demolition picked up, to get that debris picked up. So it's going to take time. There is no easy solution, partly because the roads are private, the properties are private, nothing down there is on the public right away. It is, that's part of the problem. We're getting down there. The whole harmless agreement that we're going to be trying to execute from the Mobile Home Park Association, and frankly, they don't even know we're doing this just yet. We'll present it to them, and I don't anticipate any problem in getting them to agree to that. They've been very agreeable to that already, and they've given us a letter saying that we have access to their streets, but we do need something more formalized from them to allow us to do that and to allow FEMA to participate. So that is kind of where we're at with Skyline. We're not really any further, and it's going to take us a while to get significantly further, but this has not been a very pleasant experience for anybody.
Any question on the dais for City Manager on the Skyline update?
Hey,
Mr. Sutton?
Well, did FEMA address any of the health hazard issues that we've communicated to them?
they're aware of the possibilities.
But they didn't come back with a, of how the city is supposed to handle that if we begin to have a health hazard with that debris?
No, sir.
Okay.
You know, whoever you hire to do that, I mean, if, you know, things would go better, and maybe I need to find a way to get enough staff down there to do it, because if the staff does it, FEMA has no problem with it. And maybe I just need to stop everything, just have us all go down there with every truck we've got to be able to pick that stuff up. Now, I've never really thought that's the solution, but that would be in some ways quicker, because we've got to develop specs, contracts to adhere to their requirements, and it's going to have to be adhering to those types of issues. Now, if the staff does it, the staff's going to be exposed to quite a bit down there, and we do not have the expertise in dealing with those issues down there. Not to say that none of the staff wouldn't do it. The staff has been very responsive as we have been over the disasters. At least in my 5 years here, they have done whatever they can to help citizens, whatever, and any exposure. So I think they expose themselves to many things every day, but this is not something I'm comfortable exposing the staff to. This is more like you know, the men in little white suits and that kind of stuff. What you would see at a cleanup site. That's what I'm envisioning. Now maybe it doesn't take that. I don't know. But if you remember last time I was here, FEMA said, don't go down there. They don't care how bad it smells or how bad it gets. And they've gone from that, in the last 2 weeks, they've gone from that to, yes, we'll go down there and pick it up, to now they've come back and said, no, you're going to have to do that. It has been, as each day changes, things are different. And just as we think we've got it ironed out, the next day, it's not. Dealing with the same guys, the same people. And I know ours is just a small little smidgen on what the people in Louisiana were dealing with. And I'm fit to be tied. I can only imagine what those guys were going through.
Tom, has there been any discussion with FEMA about any role that the county or state might have if they could bring in some expertise that perhaps could aid in this?
They could. And if the city were to do that, I mean, we would be soliciting state and county help as well in dealing with that. Okay. And all that would be, FEMA would be reimbursing us. They would not be covering the cost. The city would still be bearing the cost for that. Keep in mind that the demolition, the debris removal is actually the responsibility of those property owners. It is not the city's responsibility. It is the responsibility of those property owners. A lot of them have walked off. A lot of them have done nothing with it. We're not anticipating anything going on with it. And so then that now will become ours. And if this is something that we're going to be doing, it's my intent to, whatever funds that we're not reimbursed for, I'll place liens on each and every individual property proportionally for the amount of debris that was taken from that property to try to make the city whole. It's going to be an administrative nightmare. That's not even being fair, but it's going to be worse than a nightmare. But I'm not sure what else to do. I can't not do anything. We can't just turn our heads to it and just say, okay, guys, it's up to you. I'm not, and I know nobody on the council is proposing that. The council's been very, very concerned about it, but I'm not feeling the love from our friends in Washington.
Any other questions on the skyline? All right, sir. I'll go ahead.
Okay. I'm not feeling love here either from our friends in Washington. While we have gotten, some financial help on the skyline, we have gotten absolutely no promise of help to help with this solution. We're still looking at some possibilities. I briefed the council tonight in an executive session regarding some some possibilities, and I'll be exploring some things more, and hopefully come back to y'all to get with that. And at some point, we're going to have to sit down with the property owners over there to talk about them. But we're still not real sure what we can do. It's again, with the properties being privately owned and the erosion issues, and as far as to the feds or to some of these other guys, they're not damaged homes, and we think otherwise. That is it reasonable to expect them to fix this problem? And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the solution to that is. I'm exploring. I've been exploring over the last several weeks or a couple of months what options that could possibly be out there, and I think the homeowners are aware of some of those options, and we're still exploring those. We're got some additional things I need to come back to the council with to get a feeling for it, but it's right now I'm exploring public-private partnerships without an expectation of getting federal funds. It is a little frustrating. You see our friends in Fort Worth get millions from the feds in very short time to deal with the Trinity project, and we get a deaf ear or a blind eye to our problems over here, and it's I struggle with that, and I know those homeowners struggle with it, and there's part of me that thinks any one of those guys could just pick up a phone and make something happen, and for whatever reason they're not, or and maybe I'm oversimplifying it. I don't know. I'm clearly frustrated with it, but we're still pursuing it, and this is not going to be a quick and easy. It's not going to nothing about this is going to be easy, and nothing about this is going to be quick, and hopefully we can come up with something. And if not, then we'll see what else we can come up with. We will not. We will continue to try to find something to help. I'm not. Just not sure exactly what that'll be. But I think we're pursuing something, and a lot of it I'm not ready to talk about publicly right now. But we'll see what we can do.
All right. Any questions on the dais regarding the big fossil erosion issue? If not, we've got a couple of people that want to speak tonight. First will be Layla Caraway. The subject is erosion. Layla, you pass? Okay. Next is Bill Journet. He wants to talk about storm victims.
Thank you, Council. My name is Bill Journet. I live at 4529 Nadine. And yes, I believe, as Mr. Muir said, that you guys are doing as well as you can, but then on the other hand, I don't think everyone is. There's a very obvious reason why those caught up in the path of recent floods will not get the help they seek from our city, nor can they, as Katrina victims, expect much, if any, from the state, nor the insurance companies, or even the popular organized charities. Or why should they? You must understand that the priorities and the goals of those you have once bought into and supported are not the same as yours. Do not really have the vows and promises yet attached to your vote, donations, policies, or anything that once you had faith in. Surely you know that the power you rendered, taxes you paid, policies you supported, and the donations you made belong now to the gods of commerce that you believed to be on your side. Our city will not compromise a library or the build-out corridor for the sake of the commoners among us. Fighting tooth and nail, you will not draw anything from the beautiful gambling facades of insurance, the multi-million millions given to organized charities will, of course, support their own infrastructures and agendas first. Indeed, the great philanthropists are often seen throwing money charities far off, even to the antipods, but seldom to the stranger at their door or the heathens at their gates. Perish the thought. It will do you no good, even on your knees, to expect anything from leadership in any capacity of our government or its social programs or charities. I am reminded of such a leader that came before another god of worship. Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God, what hast thou to do with me? He said. And Jesus answered in a question, what is your name? My name is Legion, for we, quote, plural, are many. But tell me, my Lord, how is it that I know you, but you don't know me? And again to the victims of the recent storms, why bother? Do you honestly believe that you'll retrieve anything or make a difference at all? Thank you.
Any other public comments about this item? Please come up and introduce yourself.
My name is Sinatani Houston. I live at 5340 Banner Drive, the other mobile home park that you people have forgotten about. We were affected just as much as Skyline. And we're really being affected now with the trash in Skyline and living with the odor from Skyline. And you talk about a health hazard, we have to live there. What are you going to do for us? No, we don't own the property, but we still pay taxes.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing nothing, no one else wants to speak on that issue, I just will close by saying I understand your anger. Mr. Muir has worked diligently to try to work something out with you won't see them. They don't meet down there. They came in
there late. They came in at 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night after the flood was at 2:30 in the morning.
No, ma'am.
That's when we got city people down there.
No, ma'am. I was down.
I take extreme exception saying
you're just in error.
We're not going to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we went wherever the people were flooded. That's where we went, and I'm yeah.
That Monday night.
Well,
that was the first time we saw.
Yeah,
the
I'm sorry.
People coming down there. I'm not talking about the police or the fire. I'm talking about the other people coming in and saying, "Oh, you're condemned."
Okay, all right. No, that's okay. You want to come up here and introduce? Yeah.
Sir, my name is Karen Fensel, and I lived in what used to be Banner Mobile Home Park. Years ago, when my old man, Mr. Black, was mayor of the city tried to tell him he couldn't put a mobile home down there. But they let him get away with it anyway because he had power. I have a lease that doesn't say anything like that. But has anybody made any charges against the people that caused it? We were affected. We lost everything we owned. And if you had insurance of any kind, you can forget it. FEMA cannot help. Nothing can help us except ourselves. The only thing we thank God that we are separate from Katrina is that we still have jobs because nobody else is pulling us out of it. We've even got a landlord, past landlord, that's trying to collect rent off us now, past rent, of which we were never owed. Because he was told to get those mobile home parks out of there, so he basically stole them from a couple of people, one being a senior citizen. But no one's going to do anything to him. But our side is cleaned up, that side. And you can't do, and what I'm hearing here tonight, I've heard there's some funds that was given that was supposed to help with some of that. I keep hearing about that.
Any funds that were given from FEMA or the Red Cross. The city has not given any funds.
Right. Well, what was those funds given for?
Either relocation assistance or...
Then how come we didn't get any help whatsoever?
I'm not sure.
No, it was,
No.
the owner office has been open for,
Tell you.
FEMA won't help you. We had insurance on a 1983 mobile home. How much insurance do you think we had?
well, to say that, that you're getting no help because no help's available to people in Banner is just wrong. I mean, the help's available now. You may or may not be qualified for it under
That's the
FEMA
problem.
rules. The FEMA has to have some rules around there. Certainly
Right.
you understand that.
But
And,
anybody,
yeah.
any help we get from FEMA is not part of the funds that you were given.
We
that's
haven't
not-
gotten
We
any
haven't
funds.
gotten a dime.
Because that's what I was hearing tonight.
We have
No.
not gotten a
Well,
thing.
we've heard for some time.
No, no, what I've been talking about tonight regarding the mobile home park there, and I'll even go as far as say Banner, anything with the debris
Doesn't even
cleanup,
have to be in a
demolition
mobile home
cleanup,
park in Haltom
we
City.
have been
Yeah.
told, do not do it. I would love to go down there and pick it up.
Well, on
I
our
would
s-
love to do that. We've done it before.
Well, on the Banner side, the landlord was told, the landowner was told, given a set amount of time to remove that property, to remove that stuff.
Banner is clean. It's skyline.
Yeah.
I know.
But we're being affected by it now.
I understand. I understand.
We ought to go down and canvass the government.
No, the problem is we had insurance.
Yeah.
Because if you earn anything over, if you get proceeds of any kind from $28,000, 200,
Well,
you can get no help from HUD. You can get no help from nobody. But see, when your home, your car, everything you own goes away, you still have your bills to pay.
so are you saying that FEMA and HUD did not provide any assistance because you had
We
insurance on
didn't-
those items?
Yes,
Okay.
sir, and that's exactly what we were told.
And apparently you have not, insurance has not come through on it, and they don't
We
plan
got
to come through.
insurance, but we can't.
They didn't pay on it.
The 17.8 that we got for structures, that's
Mm-hmm.
all we have, $17,800. Try to buy a home. We cannot touch because we are trying to get an SBA disaster loan. If we touch that money, we can be denied. So we can't even spend it.
Well, that's a classic bind that anybody that carries insurance can face, and it's not just with home; it's with a car or anything else that you insure.
just-
You can be underinsured, basically, or not be insured
Well-
for full replacement value. That's a common bind.
Maybe the city council can afford replacement insurance,
No.
but I know
No.
I can't, not the normal everyday person.
No, and anyway, from FEMA, the max anybody's going to get from FEMA is going to be 28
Right.
grand anyways, is the max
Right,
anybody's
that's what
going
I'm
to
saying,
get.
if you've received any kind of benefits or insurance, you're still out the door.
And that's only for the resident owners. If you're a tenant, you're not getting anywhere near that.
But when
from
we were
FEMA.
down there after this flood, someone from here or whatever, Red Cross, everybody, they was telling us not to remove the trash from our home. So I left a freezer in my home full of meat because I was told to leave it there, that the city was supposed to take care of all that. And then it turned into a disaster problem because the smell started and everything. And it happened to be that we were able to actually sell our home for $250 and everything. And he put it in a dumpster with a bottom loader. But we don't feel that the city of Haltom gave any care to our mobile home park. Everything was Skyline. We didn't exist. But 13 families down there lost their homes. And someone needs to start acknowledging that. Because right now, if anybody were to give me a home in Haltom City, I would tell them to keep it. I'm living in a temporary situation right now until we can get our own home. And I have distinctly told my real estate agent not to bother to look in Haltom City because I will never, ever live in this city again.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll go to the public hearings and ordinance resolutions portion of the agenda. Item 8, P-017-07 and P-018-07. This conduct a public hearing and on consideration and action regarding the application of Ronnie Carruthers of BISD for preliminary and final plat for North Oaks Middle School. Mr. Pliska?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, citizens of Haltom City. As you stated, Mayor, we're looking at two plats tonight. This is the preliminary and final plat for North Oaks Middle School. which is proposing to change the existing footprint of the structure by adding new locker room facilities and restroom facilities. This change in the footprint of the structure initiates this plating process. Both the preliminary and final plat were recommended for approval to the City Council by the Planning and Zoning Commission. This decision was at the August 28, 2000 P&Z meeting. Therefore, I formally submit for your review the preliminary plat of this tract, the final plat of this tract, and the site plan of the proposed changes to the facility. I also have Mr. Ronnie Carruthers representing BISD, and I have Ms. Linda Jordan and Sanford LaHue of Schrickle, Rollins and Associates, the engineers on the project. And I stand to answer any questions.
Any questions from the dais? Mr. Hutchinson.
Yes, Mr. Pliska, is this going to involve also some repair on McLean Road too? I know we're going to do some stuff to North Oaks, but my gosh, McLean Road needs right there in front of where they're going to do the constructions. Going to need some. I mean, it at least needs to be widened if they're going to do an access into that area.
Unfortunately, sir, off-site streets and such are not included in this particular plating process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Pliska? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I'll now open up the public hearing portion. Anyone in the audience want to make a comment for or against the preliminary and final plats for North Oaks Edition? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to dispose. Mr. Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve preliminary and final plat P-017-07 and P-018-07.
All right, we have a motion. Ms. Bransom.
That would be for a second, Mayor.
And moved and seconded to approve P-017-07 and P-018-07 preliminary and final plats. Any further discussion? Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Next item on the agenda is item 9, public hearing for fiscal year 2007 and 08 budget. Let's conduct a public hearing on the fiscal year 2007-08 budget for the City of Haltom City and the Haltom City Economic Development Corporation. Joel?
Thank you, Mayor.
Take it away.
Members of the council, with your indulgence, I'm going to move over here where I can manipulate my projector for a presentation. Of course, in conjunction with this particular agenda item, I'll do a slideshow on it, and we'll go over the budget, and then we'll conduct the public hearing. And then after the public hearing in this particular item, then we'll I'll ask the council if they would mind considering the ordinance. But we will begin, and I gave a handout to each of you in the pre-council, and so you'll be able to just follow along with what's going to be appearing here on the wall. And of course, this is for the fiscal year 2007-2008 budget, beginning October 1st and continuing through September 30th of 2008. All funds total of the proposed budget, $74 million plus dollars. That is possibly the largest or close to the largest budget in the history of the city. It is an increase of approximately $9 million over the FY07 adopted budget of $65.4 million. And I'll speak in kind of rounded numbers. It's rather tedious to rattle off everything. But the increase in the budget from the $65 million to the $74 million is almost entirely captured in capital projects. This budget has a large component of capital improvement projects in it. The next slide here, of course, is where all the money comes from. And I want to point out something here because I'm going to mention it here and then come back to it if I can find my pointer. I know I brought a pointer out with me. There it is. If you will notice, these two pieces of the pie, bond proceeds and appropriated reserves, these two items add up to 35%. If you'll bear those in mind, I will come back to that 35% number in a few slides. That is the money that is for the capital improvement project, and I'll talk about it further in just a little bit. One of the things that is very interesting about the budget of the city is that this particular piece of the pie right here gets the most attention, and yet when you take these two pieces off, the largest single source of funds for the city is in fact charges for services. 24% of our $74 million in revenues and available resources is coming from charges and services. The second largest is our sales taxes. Property taxes come in third among all our sources. The proposed property tax rate, since property taxes is the most interesting part of the budget, it's one that it certainly elicits the most conversation. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. But the property taxes, our proposed rate is 59.83 cents, which is about 3.17 cents above the adopted rate. The impact upon an average home, that is predicated upon a 2008 value of $86,400 as opposed to a 2007 value of $85,000. And you'll see that the difference is $31.90. That works out to just under 9 cents per day on the increase. The $465 bill, which would be on an average home, represents a price of $1.27 a day for public services. Thought we would give a little comparison here of where city taxes fit in the entire picture. This has been a special request by Councilmember Reese for some time, and I'm sorry it took me so long to get it together. I want you to notice the tax bill on this average home, $86,400 home, this homesteads and everything calculated, the tax bill will be about $2,044. 49%, slightly over $1,000 of this bill goes to the school district. 23% of this total bill is represented by the city. Now, the legislature has been changing school tax rates, and they have been lowering the rates. The impact on this is the 49%, which is for 2008. Last year was 51%. The year before it was 53%. So the change in the property tax rates has benefited the property tax owner in that their share of school taxes on the average bill has gone down. It's now below 50%. The county portion, is 11%. Health district, which is Peter Smith and County Health, and of course Tarrant County Community College represents that portion.
And all those are county issues. Mm-hmm. All three of those. That's 28%.
Yes. What I will also mention, and this is something that I think kind of gets overlooked sometime, but basically 77% of the property taxes you pay are not city taxes. However, if you don't have any children in Birdville ISD, if you don't have anybody at Tarrant County Community College, if you don't use Peter Smith Hospital, and if you're not in jail, you're not really using most of the taxes here. But in the morning, every morning when you back out of the driveway and your rear wheels hit the pavement, you're hitting that 23% every day. Whenever you go to the library, whenever you go to the park. Go ahead, Mayor.
I just wanted to interrupt and point out that 11% for the county, we don't want to count that just out altogether because we're going to go ask the county for some help building some streets around here. So we do plan on getting some of that money back.
And the county does help. I mean, we saan it earlier today with the CDBG. I mean, there is
Right.
help there. But
Yeah.
what we're trying to point out is that the city's portion that it has contact with everybody every single day, more so than anybody else, is smaller than those other two, the school district and the overall county taxes combined. Now granted, the county is only 11%, but the hospital district, the college district, all those other issues that are up there, those are all county issues. They just got them split up because of the different districts.
Well, I appreciate that. I just, I think we need to tread carefully here. I mean, because Birdville ISD, for instance, investing in a brand spanking new school in Haltom City, and Haltom City's residents will pay about $0.25 on the dollar for what the cost of that investment in Haltom City. So that's a good return on our money. I just don't want to lose sight of those things.
I understand. I'm just really trying to justify the city's position here.
Yeah, we're not throwing.
Yeah, I'm not trying.
We're not
I'm sorry
blaming
if
anybody
it
else,
looks like I'm throwing somebody under the bus. I don't really mean to, but I'm just really trying to point out that what citizens pay for the city on that $1.27 a day is really, really, really important to them on a daily basis. Sometimes they don't realize that.
Yeah, you get more bang for your buck with us.
Yeah, but when you go to the library, that's city. When you go to the park, that's city. When you dial 911, unless it's an ambulance coming, that's city coming, whether it be fire or police. Well, that's rates, water rates, but yeah. But it's still city. It is still city. That's true. But anyway, I would also mention that despite the fact that the city's taxes on an average homestead would go up $31.90 on this year's tax bill, that in fact last year's tax bill on this same home was $2,134 or $90 more. So that average homestead is still going to see a $90 decrease in their taxes because of what the legislature did with school taxes. So, I mean, that person's going to see a lower tax bill this year. Anyway, in terms of uses of funds, if you remember I mentioned there was on the revenue side, keep that 35% in mind. Here's where the 35% is going. It's a combination of bond money that we already had on hand, coupled with some new bond issues, are going to be 35% of this budget next year. Personnel costs are our next largest use of funds in the organization. And of particular interest is that repair and maintenance and supplies are a relatively small portion of our budget. We try to operate very frugally. Proposed changes in the budget, there's a list of about 2 pages of items here. The item of the largest, these are in dollar value order. That's the only order they're in, is they're ranked from the highest dollar value to the lowest one on the next page. And there are some positions in here with the technology manager, the emergency management coordinator. Our technology manager is a position that is being created in response to the information technology master plan that was performed earlier this year. The emergency management coordinator was deemed to be a priority by our experience through this summer of the various forms of weather activity, really starting back in April with the tornado and moving through the floods. How advantageous it would have been to us to have had an emergency management coordinator on staff the whole time who was really an emergency management coordinator and wasn't still tied to being a driver. So, a guy wearing 2 hats. If he wore 1 hat, he'd be more efficient. But a couple of water maintenance workers in the water and sewer department. We have some issues, some special projects for water hydrant maintenance. Fire hydrant maintenance, and for
sanitary sewer.
For the sanitary sewer work that needs to be done. So a couple of extra maintenance workers can actually hone in.
Those are positions that were unfunded.
Yes, these were cut back in 2003. And little by little, we're very slowly restoring those positions that were cut in 2003, but we're doing it as resources and workload permits. But this sergeant, and I did not get in there and put that bracket on there.
It's all right.
This was pointed out to me earlier today, and I just missed it. But this sergeant position will start January 1st, and this will allow us to put a sergeant on the drug task force. It's our turn to have one there, and we keep the task force very busy. So this will allow us to be able to do that and lose no efficiency in our police operation. The 3 lieutenants, this is a reclass. to put 3 more lieutenants on shifts. It will allow the captain on duty to not have to command, where to command. He's not going to be the overall command for the entire shift and the command for the central fire response. It allows him to be just the overall shift commander. And it'll also help us on our ISO, ultimately. A lot of these other things, like the parks improvements, that's the 2 play areas that you saw in the workshop, one at Broadway and one at Haltom Road, and some other replacement of equipment at the parks. The electronic ticket writers, this, as y'all may recall, you approved some electronic ticket writers about 2 years ago. And what this is, and we've mentioned this before, this is buying new ones, heavier ones, more of them, because what we envision doing that with these ticket writers is not only going for the patrol, the motor jocks, but also going in the patrol cars, which will be an expanded effort there. And the old electronic ticket writers will go to code enforcement. So they will not be retired. We'll actually have more technology in the field and more efficiency hopefully coming from it. The juvenile caseworker is the position that we mentioned would be coming along after y'all had adopted the fee back in May for the juvenile caseworker. Then the human resource generalist is a position that's going to be coming on board to help with the workload of all the compliance issues that we have in the human resources department. The school resource officer, that's a half. That half city means that's the half the city pays. BISD is paying the other half. For an additional resource
just to let you all
officer.
know that, and I just hate to cut you off, I authorized going ahead and signing that officer now. So we'll go ahead and start billing the school district now, but instead of waiting until October to send that go over there, he's going to start now. It'll be Officer Wisenhunt, who's the 3rd SRO.
The 2 parks items, both here, coupled with the parks improvements on the previous page, are all tied to the administration attempting to address the council's stated goals for improving our parks, improving our quality of life, improving access to them, improving the condition to make them more attractive. And these fit in along, like I said, with the parks improvements is the parks worker and additional parks ground maintenance. This staffing is an estimate of about 6 weeks staffing for the new library when it's completed late next summer. I say 6, or is it 12?
No, it's
6, isn't it?
6.
It's 6 weeks. Then the last 2 items are addressing a couple of other council prerogatives or council directives for this year, their goals. And that is we want to have a citywide wellness program, but we are statutorily required to put together a fire wellness program. So we figured that was as good a place to start as any for getting a citywide wellness program going. But it's just the first step in what will be a series of steps to eventually develop an overall wellness program for the city, which will go a long way toward enhancing efficiency in the staff. A healthier staff works better. It'll also help us on avoided costs in the future on health insurance, hopefully. And then the last item, organizational development. It's our first baby step toward an organizational development plan, which was another focus of the council from y'all's retreat back in February. So that is the list of the proposed changes to the budget that have gone through the workshop process and are being included now. Lastly, touching on the capital improvement program, I said 35% of the budget. The total is $27 million of items. With the street reconstruction fund, that is the fund with the quarter-cent sales tax. So these are the projects that are in there. This is not all of the street projects. There is some money in the general capital projects fund also in there for some street projects. That is coming out of the $2.5 million in COs that the council will likely be making a decision upon at the next council meeting. I will mention for the sheer interest of the fact that we already know what the interest rate is going to be on these certificates. When we bring them to the council, the interest rate will be 3.9%, which is an excellent, excellent rate. And so that'll be coming that'll be coming at the next council meeting for the council to consider. But in the General Capital Projects Fund, is the construction of the library. It is money for the for the Little Fossil flood control project. It is, there's money also set aside in this project for the possibility of a city hall project. That is something that's being studied. I will mention that in talking about these projects here, that there's a lot of money in there of $27 million. It is not anticipated that all these projects will be finished in fiscal year '08, but all of these projects will be initiated, ideally, in fiscal year '08, which is why we're bringing them all for consideration at this point. But also included in the $21 million in the general capital projects is the $1 million for public safety radios that we've talked about, the necessity of piggybacking on the city of Fort Worth with their new radio system. We'll be very shortly paying for a pumper that was ordered last summer. It has come in and it's being prepped for service, and we'll be paying for that bill shortly. That is included, the money's included in that budget to pay for that pumper, and we'll probably be coming and asking the council to order one more pumper, which should get our fire fleet right where it should be for about the next 5 or 6 years. Well, Wes says 4 or 5, I say 6 or 7. So we'll just split the difference and say 5 or 6 at this point. But that's also included in this money. About $1.1 million in there is set aside for fleet replacement, and like I said, the two most prominent are the two pumper trucks for the fire department. Almost $2.5 million in water and sewer projects, $500,000 in drainage, and it comes up to $27 million in a admittedly ambitious capital projects budget for the next year. But the manager was very aware all through the workshops with the council's interest and desire that we address the infrastructure issues in the city. You know, not only the streets, but the water and sewer and the drainage issues, and even including our facility issues. And so this, like I said, it's an ambitious capital improvement program, but it's one that's going to be a very, very good effort toward addressing some old problems.
Thank you, Joel. So what, do we have any question for Joel on the public hearing for the fiscal year 2007-8 budget under item 9? Any questions from the dais? If not, I'll open up the public hearing. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against or make some comments about the fiscal year 2007-2008 budget, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and let's see here. We'll need a motion to approve the first reading of Ordinance O-2007-017-03. Mr. Sutton.
Yeah, I didn't see first hearing on here, but I guess it is. First reading.
First reading, yeah.
First reading? Okay. Well, then I move to approve fiscal year 2007-2008 budget ordinance number O-2007-017-03.
Ms. Branson.
That's for a second, Mayor.
And Mr. Hutchison, you have some comments? Okay. All right. Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the ordinance O-2007-017-03. Any further discussion? Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Next is item number 10. This is a public hearing on the proposed 2007-08 tax rate. You want to tell us what item 10 is about, Joel?
Item 10 is required by Chapter 26 of the Tax Code. At the last council meeting, the City Council held the first of 2 required public hearings on the property tax rate. And both of these must be held before the council can finally adopt a property tax rate for the fiscal year. And at this point, we have to we just hold our second hearing on the property tax, take public comment, and we move on to the next item at this point. Of course, at this time also, we'll have, Mayor, if you would, after we do this, remind everybody that we will have a vote at the next council meeting on the tax rate. I don't know that the tax code necessarily requires us to remind everybody of that, but I think it's probably...
Okay, I was going to do that in agenda item number 12.
Okay.
That's the language is there for.
Well, we can.
Yeah.
It won't hurt to do it as many times as necessary.
Do it at
this time.
agenda item, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll do that.
That's the way the statute's worded.
Okay, and then this. I'm just going to read from the agenda item here. At the August 13th regular session, the City Council by record vote established a proposed maximum tax rate of 0.5983 cents per $100 of value. This rate exceeds the effective tax rate of 0.563828 per $100. This proposed rate is not subject to rollback, as the amount of increase in the operations and maintenance rate is beneath the 8% limit imposed by the legislature to avoid a rollback. And under the first public hearing was held on August 27th, 2007. Under fiscal impact, the proposed tax rate will generate an estimated $9,138,646 levy. The levy for fiscal year, what?
It's $9 million.
$9 million, I'm sorry, $9,138,646. The levy for fiscal year 2006-07 was $8,375,017. Of the increase, 2% or $183,000 will be uncollectible in the current year. Of the remainder, $5,954,615 will be allocated to operations, and $3,258 will be used for principal and interest payments on outstanding debt. I can't keep up with them, all those zeros.
That's a lot of numbers, Mayor.
Yeah, and them commas, they're too big of numbers. And this is a reminder that that this is a public hearing on the proposed 2007-8 tax rate. The vote adopting the tax rate will take place on September 24th, 2006 at 7 p.m. at 5024 Broadway Avenue here at City Hall, Haltom City, Texas, 76117. Is that pretty good? Yes, sir. All right. Now we'll open up the public hearing. This is a public hearing on the proposed 2007-8 tax rate. The public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to speak on the proposed 2007-8 tax rate? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and then please be reminded that we'll have a vote on this on, as I just announced, September the 24th. Ms. Reese.
I just had a question for you, Tom. In the not this past Sundays, but the Sunday before the public notice that went out?
You mean the one published in the paper?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there was a question, one of my neighbors that walks, he stopped and he questioned, and I want to say it said something about an 8% increase, or there was something about an 8%. A lot's happened this week, so I don't remember the wording, but he was confused. I couldn't answer his questions. Do you
Joel's
recall?
ignoring it here, so he's leaving
Joel?
me up to answer. Huh? Okay. The 8%, I believe, is referencing the rollback, the amount of rollback, the amount of rate increase that could initiate a rollback petition or a rollback election.
Where the 8% comes into play is that if the part of the property tax rate that is dedicated to running the general fund, if we increase that rate by 8% or more, It's, if you touch 8% or more, that rate can be subject to rollback by the citizens.
And that was probably, and I'm assuming that's
that
published
how
in
it
the,
was
in the, in the,
phrased in the
legal
paper?
notice. Is that right?
Probably.
I know Charles wrote that thing, but,
Yeah, well, he
um,
copied it out of the Truth and Taxation
Yeah.
from the Comptroller's office. So,
Okay, because I tried explaining and I got lost, he got lost, and I just said, I'm sorry, it's been a long day, and
well, I tell you what, we'll check it out tomorrow, the ad, and if that's the 8% that's referenced there, we'll confirm that with you. If it's something different, we'll follow up with you anyway.
There may,
and let you know what that
yeah.
is.
Now, there may have been a public notice he saw in which there was a tax rate that was compared to a different effective tax rate than what we calculated. And I'm being a little cryptic on that, and I apologize for being a little cryptic, but I think one of our required Truth and Taxation advertisements gave the property tax, that effective tax rate as being the rate without the 1.25 cent addition to the INS rate that we've actually done. And at that point, there could have been a change. It might have been, instead of the 5.6% that we're showing, it may have been closer to 8% by that measure, but that's not what we're doing. It may have been what we had to put in the ad,
Did we
but it's
correct
not
the
what
ad?
we're actually doing.
Did we correct the ad?
We've run correct ads.
Okay.
We've run correct ads.
That may be, I don't know.
I didn't know how to answer.
Sure. And you can see we didn't know how to either.
You weren't alone. All right, next item on the agenda is item number 11, ratification of property tax increase. Joel, tell us what we're doing now.
This is a new wrinkle that has just become effective September 1st of this year. It was done by the legislature during the regular session that occurred during the spring. It is a change. Normally, we've been following Chapter 26 of the Tax Code. This is a change the legislature made to Chapter 102 of the Local Government Code, which governs our budget process. Our budget process, which I don't ever refer to it because our charter requires us to have a public hearing. Chapter 102 requires us to have a public hearing if our charter doesn't, but our charter does, so I never reference it. But now with this change, the legislature has changed Chapter 102 to now require the council to approve raising more revenue from property taxes than in the previous year. In other words, if in the process of adopting this budget, we're going to raise 1 penny more than we raised last fiscal year from property taxes, then we have to have a separate vote of the council to ratify the collection of that additional penny. And in our particular case, because of the tax rate increase, our levy is increasing from $8.375 million to $9.139 million, or about almost $800,000 on the levy. And that is, of course, going from a tax rate of 56.66 last year, which translates into an effective rate of 56.38, to the proposed rate of 59.83. And so what has to happen now, like I said, is in compliance with Chapter 102, we have to ask the council to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the budget.
All right. Any questions from the dais? If not, I'll open, this is a public hearing, correct?
No. you
Yeah,
just
just
need to
under
take
the
a-
public hearing,
It's just a motion, Mayor, and
just
the motion is worded at the bottom of this
okay.
agenda item for whoever wants to make it.
Okay, well, just in case, is there anyone in the audience who wants to make a comment while we're at it? It's clear now? Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, then entertain a motion, and in your motion, be sure that you use the words that are in bold at the bottom of the page there. Mr. Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll see if I can accomplish that. Make a motion that we adopt, that we ratify the property tax increase reflected in the budget, which is the increase that Mr. Welch just just gave us, about $800,000.
Mr. Cabana.
That's for a second, Mayor.
Been moved and seconded to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the budget. Is there any further discussion? Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Agenda item 12, ordinance number O-2007-018-03. This is consideration and or action approving an ordinance on the proposed fiscal year 2007-8 tax rate, first reading. Mr.
We are
Welch.
now on the stretch run, Mayor.
Yep, we're rounding thirds.
Yes, sir. This is the first presentation of the property tax rate ordinance. And now we've just conducted the two required public hearings. We have now taken the action that's required to ratify the collection of the additional taxes. And so now we submit for council consideration the ordinance, which will set the property tax rate of 59.83 cents per $100 of net taxable value for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2007. And of course, again, I will mention that we probably should announce again that the vote adopting the tax rate, this is the first reading, so this is not the vote adopting the tax rate, it's the first reading of the ordinance, but that the vote adopting the tax rate will take place on September 24th, 2007, not 2006, at 7 p.m. Here in the City Council chambers at 5024 Broadway Avenue, Haltom City, Texas.
Any questions for Joel from the dais?
Well, at least the ordinance date is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Senator.
If not, I'll ask one more time, anyone in the audience wishes to make a comment on the proposed fiscal year 2008 proposed tax rate. Seeing none, I entertain a motion. Mr. Holcomb.
Thank you, Mayor. Move to approve ordinance number 0-2007-018-03 for the fiscal year 07-08 proposed tax rate.
Mr. Sutton.
That's for a second, Mayor.
Mr. Hudson. Been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number O-2007-018-03, the fiscal year 2008 proposed tax rate. And this reminder that the vote adopting the tax rate will take place on September 24th, 2007 at 7 p.m. at 5024 Broadway Avenue. That's here at City Hall, Haltom City, Texas, 76117. Any further discussion? Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Next is the Visitor Citizens Forum. This time is set aside for any person having business before the council that is not scheduled on the agenda to speak to the council. All comments must be directed toward the presiding officer rather than an individual council member or staff. Each speaker must limit his or her comments to the subject matter listed on the speaker's request form and must refrain from personal attacks toward any individual. Council cannot discuss or debate any issue brought forth at this time, nor can any formal action be taken as it is not a posted agenda item in accordance with the Open Meetings Law. Anyone wish to make come to address the council on the Visitors and Citizens Forum? Seeing none, I will close this portion of the agenda. Move right on to item 13, resignation of board members. I do have one resignation. That of Mr. Cody Elliott has resigned from the Crime Control and Prevention District to be effective immediately. Ask for confirmation of that. Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Any other resignations? Moving on to item 14, appointment and reappointment to boards. I have two appointments tonight. Appoint Mr. Cody Elliott to the Civil Service Commission, and appoint Mr. Terry Fletcher to the Planning and Zoning Commission as an alternate, and ask for the council to affirm those. Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Any other appointments to boards? And we have no excused absences for council members. So this portion of our regular meeting is over, and we will now adjourn into executive session under Section 551-071-072 and 074.